Hypothesis. 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 So, let's break down the word hypothesis. As a noun, it refers to an educated guess or a theory that is proposed to explain a phenomenon or a set of data. In common usage, you might hear someone say, "I have a hypothesis that," meaning they're suggesting a possible explanation for something. For example, I hypothesized that the new policy would lead to increased productivity in this case. The speaker has made an educated guess based on past experiences or observations. One special note about its usage is that a hypothesis should be testable and falsifiable, meaning it can be proven or disproven through evidence or experimentation. This makes a hypothesis different from a mere opinion or conjecture. In a lecture on physics, Dr. Smith explained to her students that their assignment was to formulate a hypothesis about the relationship between gravity and motion, so they could design an experiment to test it formally in class. We need to start with a clear hypothesis, something that we can use as a foundation for our investigation. In contrast, at a dinner party, Sarah's friend Emily mentioned that she had formed a hypothesis that eating oysters would give her a glowing complexion, a notion she planned to test over the next few weeks by tracking her skin tone. "I'm not saying it's gonna work, but I've got this hypothesis that's just been floating around in my head." Meanwhile, in a meeting with investors, Mark from GreenTech Inc. proposed a hypothesis-based marketing strategy for their new product, suggesting that if they could demonstrate a 25% increase in sales within the next quarter, they would be confident of its potential to disrupt the market. Our hypothesis is that this targeted campaign will yield significant returns, and we're eager to test it with your support. So you're trying to figure out what this idea is called? Okay, let me break it down for you. A hypothesis is basically an educated guess that tries to explain something we don't know yet. It's like a rough answer to a question, and it's usually based on some research or thinking about the situation. The main characteristics of a hypothesis are that it's testable, meaning someone can try to prove it true or false by doing experiments or collecting data. And it's also specific, not too vague or general, but clear enough that we can see if it fits with what we know so far. Similar concepts or synonyms for this idea would be educated guess or theorized explanation. And it's often used in science, research, or problem solving to help us understand something new and try to figure out how things work. Implement. 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 The word implement is a very useful one to know. As an action verb, it means to put a plan or decision into practice, often by making it happen through taking concrete actions and steps. In common usage, you might say, "We implemented new security measures in the office," or "She implemented a new system to improve efficiency." It's worth noting that when using implement, people often use it with nouns like policy, system, or measure, which can help you remember its meaning. Also, be careful not to confuse implement with imply, which means to suggest or hint at something. Those two words are easily mixed up, but implement is all about taking action. In a formal meeting with colleagues, someone might say, "To improve our company's energy efficiency, we need to implement a plan to reduce waste and optimize our facilities usage." This example showcases a formal usage of the word implement in an official context. A casual conversation between friends at a coffee shop might go something like this. "Hey, I've been trying to start a new exercise routine, but I keep putting it off. What if we implement a schedule and actually make time for it? In this example, the word implement is used in a relaxed, conversational tone to convey a sense of commitment or action. In an academic paper discussing the impact of new technology on education, someone might write, "The integration of AI-powered tools into classroom settings will require educators to implement innovative pedagogical strategies that take advantage of these advancements." Here, the word implement is used in a more formal, technical sense to describe the practical application or execution of an idea. So you want to know what implement means? Well, think of it like this. When we want to make something happen or start using a new system, process, or plan, we need to take concrete actions to bring it into reality. That's basically what implement is all about, making sure the right steps are taken and the necessary changes are made so that the idea or concept can work effectively. It's like building a house. You have the design on paper, the idea, but then you need to gather materials, dig the foundation, and construct the walls. Take action in order for people to live there comfortably. Similarly, when we implement something, we're making sure that all the necessary parts are put together and working smoothly so that it can achieve its intended purpose. Does that make sense? Implicate. 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 Let's talk about the word implicate. So, implicate is a verb, which means it's an action word that tells us what someone or something is doing. In common usage, to implicate someone means to suggest that they were involved in a wrongdoing or crime, often by giving evidence or clues that point to their guilt. For example, if police find a suspect's fingerprints on the scene of a crime, it might imply that they had something to do with it. The word implicate is not to be confused with imply, which means to suggest something indirectly, without direct evidence. So, if someone says, "I'm going to prove he did it," you'd say they're trying to implicate him. But if they just say, "He might have done it," that's an implication, not an accusation. In a court of law, it was argued that the company's CEO would implicate himself in the financial scandal if he chose to testify, as his alibi seemed suspicious and contradicting evidence pointed to his involvement. This is an example of formal usage, where the word implicate is used to suggest that someone will connect themselves with a negative or unwanted outcome. In casual conversation, you might say something like, "If John gets caught speeding again, he'll implicate himself as a habitual driver, and his insurance premiums are going to skyrocket." Here, the tone is relaxed and everyday language is used to illustrate how the word can relate to daily life. When discussing academic research, a scientist might point out that their new study could implicate a previously unknown factor in the development of certain diseases, which would shift the entire field's understanding and potentially lead to groundbreaking discoveries. This example showcases formal usage in an academic setting. So you want to learn about implicate. Okay, let me explain. To implicate something or someone means to suggest that they are involved in a problem, wrongdoing, or issue, but without directly saying so. When we say someone's name is implicated in a scandal, it doesn't necessarily mean they've been proven guilty, but rather that there's enough evidence or suspicion to make people wonder if they're somehow connected. Think of it like this. Imagine you see your friend with a suspicious package, and now people are starting to think maybe your friend was involved in something not so nice. That's basically what implicating someone means. It's like casting a shadow of doubt on them, without necessarily proving anything concrete.